Welcome to the special WZ.com interview with Jim Rohn. I'm Rick Beneteau of rickbeneteau.com.
And I'm Audrey Lanford of WZ.com Inc.
Today we have the tremendous honor of having with us a man who has impacted millions of people all over the world, a true legend, America's foremost business philosopher, Mr. Jim Rohn.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Jim, let's start with that, what you are known as all over the world, America's foremost business philosopher. Can you define for us the most basic premise of this philosophy?
Well, at age 25, I started listening to a mentor of mine. In fact, I worked with him for about 5, almost 6 years before he died. But he started with the premise that to get paid, you have to bring value and skills to the marketplace. And I hadn't thought of that premise before. And that set up the whole idea for my personal change at the time of trying to make myself more valuable to the marketplace. That I didn't have to change the marketplace. I didn't have to change the company I worked for. I didn't have to change society. I didn't have to change economics. That I only had to change myself. And if I wanted to double my income, I had to just start working hard, doubling my value, working on myself. He said if you work hard on your job, you can make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. And I had never looked at anything like that before. And that laid the premise for me and started a whole new thinking on how could I accomplish this.
As I think you know, Rick and I have created an interview-based ebook called Success, a Spiritual Matter. Mm-hmm. And the premise of this book is that true success in business is born of bringing your simple spiritual values to the forefront.
Sure.
It certainly has been the basis of all of our successes. And I was wondering, what role has your spirituality played and been a vital part of your huge successes?
Well, from the beginning, my parents were Christian, and I became a good scholar of the Bible by the time I was 19. And from the faith of my parents and mine and their teaching and training, especially that first 18, 19 years, laid the foundation for all that my life has turned out to be.
Jim, as all successful entrepreneurs seem to do, you surround yourself with positive people. The president of your corporation, Kyle Wilson, is a prime example and someone I've enjoyed working with very much, probably for over a year now. How important is it that people choose to be associated with like-minded people, people who think and act in a positive, proactive manner, especially in their business lives?
Well, I think it's vitally important, and, it's a process that develops over time, and it's not that anyone can be positive all the time, but, if they lean more positive than negative, all of us are inclined to worry, inclined to, think about the negative side once in a while. That's normal. But if we can keep pulling ourselves and also be surrounded by people who do the same, to think on the positive side, we're going to be challenged by the negative, and that's life. But if we can look at both sides, the glass is half empty. That's true. But it's also half full, and that's true. So it isn't that the negative is all bad. If you step off the curb in New York City and the taxi's coming, best you worry, but and be concerned. But if you let worry and concern then dominate your life, then that's bad. To let something alarm you to where you're alerted to some danger or something you need to avoid or take care of, that negative turns out to be positive. They say if you survive your first heart attack, you may now live to be a very old person, because that negative experience of a heart attack now alerts you, and you wake up, and the doctor may have said, look, another one of these in your history. So immediately you head for the health food store, start buying the books and, doing the exercises and the push-ups and jogging on the beach and changing your diet and, whatever else you need to do. And those changes from a negative experience now turn out to be positive. So what we call it is a positive negative. Something that started negative and turned positive. Could have saved your life, changed everything. So that's the drama of life and the adventure, is to understand both negative and positive There wouldn't be one without the other, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
In your bloodstream is the positive red corpuscles to nourish your body like a mother, and the white corpuscles to fight and kill like a father. So we're confronted with friendly bacteria and unfriendly bacteria. So there's the push and pull constantly. Illness trying to beat your health, and your health program trying to beat the illness. But that creates an adventure. If you couldn't lose, you couldn't win.
Mm-hmm.
If you took a football and walked out to the stadium and crossed the goal line, we wouldn't call it a touchdown. It's not a touchdown until you face the 300-pounders that want to, smash your face in the dirt. And if you muscle by them and dance by the secondary and cross the goal line with the football under your arm, we'd call it a touchdown and maybe a championship. So that's the drama of life, Opposites are in conflict. For a share of our lifetime, the world was dominated by tyranny instead of liberty. Now that whole switch has been made, especially after the walls came down in Germany, and now it seems as though the world is more inclined to liberty than tyranny. But that's what makes a drama. It happened in the beginning when God created all those angels, and one was the best, and he conspired with the third to be the spoiler instead of the creator. And, it's been that drama now ever since that time. So part of personal development and being good in business is developing a good philosophy of what it's all about, how to alert people to the dangers and also help them to see the opportunities. That's what I've tried to do now, especially these last 39 years now that I've been lecturing. And if somebody can hear it in some very basic, fundamental, easy-to-understand terms, it can be very helpful. It certainly was for me in the beginning. That's probably a long answer to your question.
No, Jim, that's a great answer.
Yeah, that's really wonderful, and you see that those conflicting forces have been going on for a long time.
Absolutely. The spoiler is still around, but that's part of the game to play, is to see how much opportunity you can develop and how many dangers you can avoid, whether it's a kid in school or whether it's an entrepreneur in the local community.
You teach a lot about values and character and having faith in yourself. May I ask how each of these has helped you in your life, Jim?
Well, that's an ongoing process as well, from the time we're small until, our present moment, of trying to develop a good reputation, developing our character so that it serves us well, learning to manage our emotions so that they serve us and not embarrass us. That's a lifelong project, and it never ends. It's not like you finally get it right and that's for the rest of your life, but balancing your life is a never-ending project. Refining your reputation and your personality to fit whatever business you might be involved in is important. All of those emotions plus intellectual challenges and opportunities that we face, whether it's community or business or home or family or school or politics, whatever it is, that's the game of life. And I think anything we can do to help people with information, ideas from a variety of teachers and perspectives is so valuable in this whole journey.
Wonderful.
You stated that your mentor, Mr. Schoaf, impacted you heavily with the following statement, and this is something I can really relate to. Success is something you attract by the person you become. You said that phrase changed my life. Can you explain how?
I always thought success was something you went after, to try to get a better income and make more money, or to save more money, whatever you might try to do to become successful. And then I found out that if I turned it around, that he was right. Success is not something you go after, but something you attract by becoming an attractive person. And that's why I teach, develop multiple skills. If you can, develop multiple languages. Keep refining, all the parts of your character, yourself, your health, all of that, so that you become an attractive person to the marketplace. And that if you do that, you'll attract opportunity. Opportunity will probably seek you out. Your reputation probably will precede you, and somebody will want to do business with you. You know, all of that possibility is there by, you know, working on that philosophy, that success is something you attract. And the key is to just keep making yourself a more attractive person by the skills you have, the disciplines you have, the personality you've acquired, the language and speech you use. You know, all of that refinement makes you more and more attractive to the marketplace. And also, if you want to build a team to attract attractive people, you must be attractive. So rather than just work on them, you constantly work on yourself. I got a good saying once from Bob Cummings, the old movie star. We used to be in business together. And he said, "I'll take care of me for you. Will you please take care of you for me?" I thought that was classic.
Absolutely.
The best contribution I can make to someone is my personal development. If I become 10 times wiser, 10 times stronger, think of what that will do for my adventure as a father, as a grandfather, as a business colleague. The best gift I can give to you really is my ongoing personal development, getting better, getting stronger. I think parents should probably pick this up. If the parents are okay, the kids have an excellent chance of being okay. Work on your personal development as parents. That's the best gift you can give to your children.
That's beautiful.
When the oxygen mask falls down, they say on the airplane, if you have children with you, you take care of yourself first, put your mask on first, then assist your children. If we use that same philosophy throughout our whole parental life, it would be so valuable. If I make myself happy, my children now have got an excellent chance to be happy. If I create a unique lifestyle for myself and my wife, I think that'll be the best example to serve for my children. Self-sacrifice usually earns contempt instead of appreciation. It's self-development that's important. And developing self so that you serve, developing self so that you're more valuable for your child, for your business, for your colleague, for your community, for your church. I think that's the key. And that's the way I was presented with this philosophy, age 25, and it's served me well all these years.
Great answer.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. In one of your articles, you say the great axiom of life is to have more than you've got, become more than you are. And you've certainly been talking about that, and I completely love that. Can you expound on this a little bit more? Because it's just such a powerful idea.
Yeah, it's true. If you want more, you simply have to become more. You know, I used to say taxes are too high and things cost too much, but I found that wasn't my problem. My problem was that I was not as valuable as I should have been by age 25 because I'd been working 6 years when I met my major business mentor. And those 6 years, you know, left me with a little when I should have had a lot. So I made up for it the next 6, 7 years by really going to work on my skills and my disciplines, and found out that the more valuable I became, the more I attracted a better income, better people. Opportunity seemed to come my way because I was now prepared and ready. And if you continue that process of growing, it's amazing what can be attracted into your life.
Oh, Jim, I couldn't agree more. In our ebook, we ask this important question to each of our contributors. What role do you feel fear might play as an obstacle to personal and financial success, if any? Can you give us your insight into fear being an obstacle to success?
Well, fear is, you know, as I mentioned earlier, fear can be very constructive if it alerts you to a danger that you can avoid. But if you become fearful by what you read, if you become fearful by what's happening, it's a good tool of the enemy to create fear, to sort of paralyze you into saying, maybe I shouldn't take the action, maybe I shouldn't go that far, maybe I shouldn't risk that much. So that kind of life, fearful kind of life, is devastating. you'll have to settle for minimum rather than maximum. Probably pennies instead of fortune if you let yourself be dominated by fear. So the key on all things is, like fire, is to let it serve you and not kill you. The same is true of fear, is to let it serve you and not devastate you and ruin your life. Anything negative, you just try your best to let that serve you and turn you around. If you become ill, you have to say, what's wrong? I've got to make some changes, and then that serves you well. So making the positive use of even the negative forces that are out there, that all of us have to face and deal with every day. When I was a little kid, there was a cartoon of this little boy with a little devil on one shoulder and a little angel on the other shoulder. And the little devil was saying to the kid, go ahead and do it, go ahead and do it. It won't be that bad. You'll enjoy it. Go ahead and do it. And the little angel in his other ear was saying, no, 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 don't do it. No, no, don't do it. Little devil said, yes, yes, it'll be okay. Little angel said, no, 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 no. And I think that's a good illustration. We're faced with that every day. A businessman has the little devil saying, go ahead and cross the line. You'll make an extra $1 million. It won't be that bad. Only a few people will get hurt. The little angel says, no, no, that's not the way. That's not where happiness comes from. So all of us are faced with this bit of dilemma every day, what voice to listen to. And if we more often than not pay attention to the positive voice that gives us better instruction, I think that's why the great prayer says, lead us around temptation. If we possibly can avoid it, if we do face it, help us to, be pulled more by the positive side than by the negative side, because the forces are always at work. And we just learn better not only how to do it ourselves, but to share it and teach it to our children, teach it to our colleagues, share it with our neighbors. We can build a better life.
It's obvious by what you do for a living, Jim, that teaching is very important to you.
Yeah, I say if there's something you really believe in, study it and practice it and teach it. That's how the family grows. That's how the business grows. That's how we all grow. Study, practice, and teach.
Certainly learn a lot more in the teaching process than you did, at least I do, in the learning process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you try to make something clear for someone else, you make it more clear for yourself. When you try to inspire someone else, you inspire yourself. If I help you to see, sure enough, it helps me to see more clearly. If I persuade you to believe, I get to hear that persuasion, and it affects me as well as it affects you. Transformation can occur when a teacher teaches. Transformation for the audience who hears, but also transformation for the teacher who teaches.
I know, Jim, that you're a big proponent of effective communication. When you find yourself before this audience teaching, either large or small, what's the most important message that you want your audience to leave with? And at the end of the day, how do you know that you've accomplished this goal?
Well, I've tried right from the very beginning, when I started being involved in training and teaching in my business, to develop those same skills, for my public presentations as well, whether I talk to a corporation or a public audience, and whether the audience is 5 or 5,000, it's all the same. My style is to develop a note-taking style, that I want to go slow enough and deliberate enough for them to take notes. I appreciate applause, but I'm really not there for applause. I want them to walk out with 25 pages of detailed notes that I've left them with, a document that will serve them well in the future. And I often have people come up 5 years later, 10 years later. One man, 23 years later, said, look at these notes I took 23 years ago. They've served me well in my business and personal life. Now I want you to sign them after 23 years. That's very exciting.
Wow.
And he said, when I took these notes, I was 18 years old. So that's amazing. So that's sort of my style. I want them to leave with a whole package of notes to take home and study and go over and maybe even use some of it to pass it on, in some class or some school or a business situation. Because my imagination is usually fired up with not just my audience who is receiving what I'm sharing, but where they might take it and how many more people might be influenced by it.
Right.
They take what I say, mix with it their own experience, put their own unique perspective on it. That makes it incredibly valuable then to someone else, so that my mentoring and teaching is not just the class in front of me, but an unseen audience. Perhaps, who knows how far-reaching that is.
That's wonderful. I know that the people who are listening and reading this interview are going to have lots of notes from what you're sharing with us.
I hope so.
Gee, Audrey, you beat me to the punch there. Jim, I've got a more personal question for you here. You travel all over the world speaking to huge crowds and never seem to slow down. After all the years that you have been impacting people on this large scale, what continues to motivate you?
What motivates me really is to continue as long as I can to do what I do. The day may come when I may have to travel a little less. In the last 90 days, I've been to India, I've been to Russia, I've been to Japan, Korea, Hong Kong. I've been to Australia, I've been to Mexico, and 2 or 3 cities in each of these countries just in the last 90 days. So a vigorous schedule, and I'm on my way soon to Bangkok, Thailand next weekend. After that is South America, Argentina, and Chile. Then I'm off to Panama. Then I'm off to Europe and back to Asia the rest of this year. So I have a heavy travel schedule. Someday I may not be able to travel that many miles, and maybe I'll travel a little less and write a little more, but I just love what I do. Of course, I do other things. I make a little wine in my farm up in Idaho where I was raised, and grow a few crops. And my next-door neighbor raises Arabian, so I furnish clover for him sometime, but I live a good life overlooking the Snake River. And then I have a place in Phoenix, and I love Carmel, California, a nice getaway place for me. My grandchildren live up there. And one of my goals was to have a residence for each season. I finally got that. That was exciting. But I think that's it. I love what I do. Also, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a builder. I build homes. I have other, businesses and enterprises as well as my lectures and seminars. So primarily, I'm an entrepreneur. But I also speak and lecture and do a bit of writing and recording. But if you were to class me as to what I think I am, that's it. A businessman, an entrepreneur primarily. But I do love to share my experiences, from all these years, from my youth, and especially starting age 25 when my life so dramatically changed, at least, in business especially, and found ways to make my fortune, and then to share those ideas with others and have them find it interesting is of great value. I just don't want to quit doing that. One of the greatest experiences is when your name appears in somebody's testimonial. Here's a man who shared ideas, helped change my life. He left his family for a while, came to my country. I was ready. Here's what's happened to my life and my business, thanks to him. You can't buy that with money. You have to get on an airplane and endure the lines and, packing and unpacking. But when you get that kind of feedback and people say, thanks for helping to touch my life, it's just amazing. And I just hope to do that for, a lot more years to come.
And you're going to find that as you read this, the book, you'll see quite a few testimonials of the impact you've made on the people we've interviewed.
Well, fantastic. I appreciate that.
If the people listening to or reading this interview did or remembered or tried just one thing, what is that one thing that you'd like them to do, remember, or try that would make the biggest impact on themselves, their success, and their lives?
I think to keep accelerating and refining the learning process, and then take small pieces of what you learn and put it to work. That's really the key of enriching your life, not only with knowledge, but with the return of the activity that was inspired by what you learned. Then to let other people inspire you. It's great to hear a testimonial that says, look, here's where I started, here's what happened to me, and if I can do it, you can do it. I started with pennies, so can you. I turned everything around, so can you. I just love those kind of inspiring testimonials.
I have to agree, Jim. Inspiring testimonials have always been a great source of strength for me. Jim, I want to turn the tables here. Even though the tragic events of September 11th are still very recent, do you feel they have or should have changed the way we conduct both our personal and business lives?
Oh, I think it's had a major effect, no doubt about it. And the reason is because it was so dramatic. Not that it's any different than it's been for the last 6,000 years, but to have the World Trade Center wiped out, 3,000 people lose their lives in one single event of just a few minutes was shocking. But it's just a reminder that, you know, the evil one is among us. Whether it's the spoiler from the first creation of all the angels or the World Trade Center, we say it's nothing new, but that one was spectacular. So many in one event, and the reason turned out to be, you know, so awesome in terms of evil, that it's, you know, right to kill innocent people to further your cause. We find that despicable. It's like ethnic cleansing. It's okay to kill and murder, you know, another ethnic group so we can make this country all one ethnic. You know, those days are gone, and those kind of ideas are as evil can be. But both evil and danger, you know, ride side by side with all of us as we wake up in the morning, no matter where we go. A little carelessness on the expressway and you're dead. So whether you were caught in the World Trade Center and died from an evil act, or whether you're careless on the expressway and die, it's, you know, it's the same dying. It's a little different, of course. We call one an evil act and the other an act of carelessness, but the key is for all of us to be as safe as we can, keep our children as safe as we can, even in a rather dangerous world. But the dangers are not only outside dangers, but inside the mind. That voice that says you're too short, you're too tall, you've never done it before, what makes you think you can do it now? That's just as insidious in terms of paralyzing you for future fortune or leaving you with a lot less than you could have. I've got a good expression that says, don't become a victim of yourself. And of course you wouldn't want to be a victim of someone's terrorist act, but it's just as important not to be a victim of yourself. Beware of the thief on the street that's after your purse, but also be aware of the thief in your mind that's after your promise.
What's the one question that we haven't asked you about that you'd like to share as a last thing that you wish we had asked you?
Probably, what off-road motorcycle do you ride the Jeep Trail?
And which one is that?
No, I have a little Honda 100. It's easy to throw on my motorhome, and I head for the mountains. And I like to ride the Jeep Trails, especially up in Northern California, Clear Lake. And it's a great way for me to get away. And for all my public life, I seek solitude, and that's one of the ways to do it. I'm even now putting a fax machine all in my motorhome so that some of my new mode for the future is to be in touch and out of reach. So yes, you can contact him, but you can't find him for a while. He's gone. So that's part of my mode for the future, is to escape a little more often. But I do a lot of that. I'm the great teacher of lifestyle, right? So in order to teach it, you have to practice it, and I do pretty well.
Wonderful.
Unfortunately, Jim, we've come to the end of our interview, and Audrey and I wish you the best of continued success in all that you do, and thank you so much for taking time out of what we know is a crazy schedule to be with us today.
Well, it was a great joy for me. A chance to share, you know, is always a joy for me, so thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.